What if an old penny in your pocket could be worth a fortune? In today's video, we're revealing 8 hardest to find pennies, including rare 1943 steel pennies, Lincoln Wheat cents, 2009 bicentennial pennies, and Canada 1-cent coins that collectors are searching for. Stay until the end. You might discover a hidden treasure that could make you rich. The famous 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat steel. 1 cent without a mint mark. At first glance, it may appear to be nothing more than an old rusty penny that has seen decades of use. Many people have actually thrown these coins away because they believed rust meant the coin was damaged beyond value. Surprisingly, that is not always true. Some collectors actively search for authentic 1943 steel cents with unusual characteristics, interesting strike quality, and attractive originality. Even a coin showing rust on the reverse can attract attention if the corrosion is light. The details remain strong, and the piece has not been improperly cleaned.
The story of the 1943 steel cent begins during World War II, when the United States needed enormous amounts of copper for military equipment, ammunition, electrical wiring, communication systems, and countless other wartime needs. Because copper became a strategic metal, the government looked for another material that could be used to produce 1-cent coins without affecting the country's supply of copper. The solution was a steel planchet coated with zinc. This temporary change created one of the most recognizable and talked about coins in American history. Unlike the familiar bronze Lincoln cents that Americans had carried for decades, the new 1943 steel cent had a bright silver-gray appearance when it left the mint. Millions of people initially believed they had received a dime instead of a penny, because the color looked so different. Others disliked the new coins because they darkened over time, collected stains, or developed rust when the zinc coating became damaged. Today, those very characteristics help tell the story of how a particular coin has aged over more than 80 years. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means it carries no mint mark beneath the date. Collectors commonly refer to these examples as the Philadelphia issue. Although Philadelphia produced hundreds of millions of steel cents during 1943, every coin has followed its own journey through history. Some remained safely stored by families who recognized the unusual steel composition from the very beginning. Others entered circulation immediately, passing through countless hands, cash registers, banks, and businesses before finally disappearing into old collections. The obverse displays the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln faces to the right, with the word Liberty positioned to the left and the national motto, "In God We Trust," appearing above his portrait. The date 1943 sits clearly to the right. Even after decades of circulation, collectors carefully inspect the strength of Lincoln's hair, cheek, jawline, bow tie, and coat, because these details help determine the overall grade of the coin. Turning the coin over reveals the classic wheat cent reverse. 2 graceful wheat ears frame the words 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top appears E pluribus unum, while the simple yet elegant design reflects the agricultural strength and hard-working spirit of the nation during the early 20th century. On a circulated example, the wheat lines may show wear, yet many collectors still appreciate coins that retain bold lettering and well-defined outlines. Now imagine finding one of these coins tucked away inside an old toolbox, hidden in a dusty coffee can filled with loose change, or resting quietly in a family inheritance. At first glance, the reverse might show reddish-brown rust spots spreading across portions of the steel surface. Many people would assume the coin has become worthless. Experienced collectors know the story is much more interesting than that. Rust develops when moisture reaches the underlying steel, after the protective zinc coating has worn away or become damaged. The amount of rust matters significantly. A few scattered spots with otherwise solid details tell a different story than severe corrosion that has eaten deeply into the metal. Collectors generally prefer original surfaces, even when minor aging is visible, rather than heavily polished or chemically cleaned examples that have lost their natural appearance. Condition remains one of the biggest factors affecting auction value. A circulated example with noticeable wear but readable details often sells for only a modest premium over face value. However, when a coin combines strong detail, attractive originality, and an interesting appearance, collector demand can increase considerably. Some enthusiasts specifically build collections showing the natural aging process of wartime steel cents, making lightly rusted pieces an unusual specialty. Another important factor is strike quality. Not every steel cent left the mint with identical sharpness. Coins struck from fresh dies often display crisp lettering and strong wheat lines, while others show weaker details because the dies had begun to wear. Collectors compare these characteristics carefully before deciding how much they are willing to pay. Authentication is equally important. Because the rare 1943 bronze cent has become legendary, dishonest individuals have attempted to alter ordinary bronze cents by changing the date to resemble 1943 or coating copper coins to imitate steel. A simple magnet test offers an initial clue because genuine 1943 steel cents are attracted to magnets, while authentic bronze cents are not. Professional grading services perform much more detailed examinations to confirm authenticity before assigning an official grade. Although this particular coin has no mint mark and displays rust on the reverse, it can still attract interest if the remaining design elements are bold. Collectors often examine the spacing of the lettering, the quality of the strike, the color of the remaining zinc coating, and whether the surfaces appear original. Every small characteristic contributes to the overall appeal. Error coins create another exciting area of collecting. While the ordinary Philadelphia steel cent is common, examples with dramatic mint errors are far scarcer. Off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, broad strikes, and certain doubled die varieties can command much stronger prices than normal circulated examples. These errors occurred during the manufacturing process and make each affected coin unique. Collectors also appreciate the historical significance behind the steel cent. It represents a single extraordinary year in American coinage when the nation adapted its currency to support the war effort. In 1944, the mint returned to using copper alloy for 1-cent coins, making the steel cent a one-year type that continues to capture public imagination. The auction market has remained surprisingly active for attractive 1943 steel cents. Ordinary circulated Philadelphia examples without unusual features commonly trade for between about $10 and $30, depending on eye appeal and preservation. Better preserved pieces with strong details often sell for noticeably more. Certified mint state examples can bring $400,000, while exceptional condition rarities and spectacular error coins have realized thousands at major auctions. For the rusty circulated example we are discussing today, assuming the reverse shows moderate rust but the overall details remain fine, the coin could realistically attract around $476,000 in today's collector market. If the rust is limited, the surfaces remain original, and the strike is above average. Competitive bidding between collectors seeking an honest wartime example could occasionally push the final price slightly higher. That value may seem modest compared with famous six-figure rarities, but it still represents many times the coin's original face value and demonstrates how history, condition, and collector demand can transform an ordinary-looking penny into a desirable collectible. That is exactly why knowledgeable collectors never judge an old coin solely by its appearance. Every scratch, every patch of toning, every tiny rust spot, and every detail preserved on the design tells part of its journey through more than 8 decades of American history. A seemingly forgotten 1943 steel cent may not always be the rarest coin ever struck, but it remains one of the most iconic and widely collected coins in the United States, reminding us that even a humble 1-cent piece can carry an extraordinary story. While most 2009 Lincoln presidency cents are common and worth only a small amount, certain examples with exceptional eye appeal, certified high grades, or genuine mint errors have attracted strong interest from collectors. Today, we are taking a close look at the 2009 Abraham Lincoln presidency 1-cent with the Denver mint mark. This coin represents the final design in the special 4-coin series released during 2009 to celebrate the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. If you have one of these pennies, stay with us until the end because knowing exactly what to look for could make the difference between spending it as pocket change and recognizing a collectible coin. The Lincoln presidency cent was introduced during one of the most memorable years in modern United States coinage. Instead of producing only the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse throughout the year, the United States Mint created 4 different reverse designs, each honoring an important stage of Abraham Lincoln's life. The final design in the series celebrated Lincoln's presidency and featured the unfinished Capitol dome under construction. This image symbolized a nation that continued building even during the difficult years of the Civil War. It also reflected Lincoln's determination to preserve the Union despite enormous challenges. Because of this powerful historical message, many collectors decided to save examples from circulation as soon as they appeared. The coin was struck at the Denver Mint and carries the familiar D Mint mark on the obverse beneath the date. The obverse still features Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, a design that first appeared in 1909. Around the portrait, you will find the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," the date 2009, and the small D Mint mark indicating production in Denver. Although these details seem ordinary today, together they connect more than 100 years of American coinage history. The Lincoln cent remains one of the longest-running coin designs in United States history, making every anniversary issue especially interesting to collectors. Turning the coin over reveals the unique presidency reverse designed specifically for this commemorative series. The unfinished Capitol dome stands proudly in the center, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 cent. Unlike the familiar Lincoln Memorial reverse used for decades, this design immediately stands out and reminds collectors that it was produced for only 1 year. Even people who rarely pay attention to coins often notice that the reverse looks different, which is one reason many examples were pulled from circulation and saved. The composition of this coin is also worth mentioning. Most 2009 Lincoln cents intended for circulation were struck using a core of zinc covered with a thin layer of copper, giving the coin its familiar copper-colored appearance while keeping production costs lower than if the coin had been made entirely from bronze. The coin weighs approximately 2.5 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter. These standard specifications help collectors identify genuine coins and compare them with unusual pieces that may have been affected by striking errors or post-mint damage. One question collectors often ask is how many of these coins were produced. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln presidency cents during 2009. Such a large mintage means that ordinary circulated examples are generally easy to find. Because of this, a typical coin in fine condition usually has only modest collector value. Many examples trade for around face value to a few dollars, depending on demand, originality, and overall appearance. However, this does not mean every coin from the series is ordinary. Certain authenticated mint errors, dramatic striking varieties, and exceptionally preserved examples have sold for much stronger prices at auction because collectors compete for the finest and rarest pieces. Understanding the difference between condition and rarity is one of the most important lessons in coin collecting. A fine condition coin has experienced noticeable circulation. The highest points of Lincoln's hair, beard, coat, and facial features will show moderate wear. The reverse design also displays wear, especially on the finer details of the Capitol dome. Even though the coin has circulated, the main design remains clearly visible, allowing collectors to identify the variety without difficulty. While fine examples are not considered rare, they still provide an affordable way for collectors to complete a 2009 Lincoln cent set. Some collectors specifically search for attractive circulated coins because they appreciate the history each piece represents. Every scratch, mark, and worn edge suggests the coin traveled through countless hands, cash registers, vending machines, and bank rolls over many years. Although such circulation usually reduces monetary value compared with an uncirculated example, it also tells a story about the everyday role these coins played in American commerce. When examining your own 2009 Denver presidency cent, begin by looking carefully at the date and mint mark. Make sure the numbers are clear and evenly struck. Then inspect Lincoln's portrait under good lighting. Collectors often use a magnifying glass or a digital microscope to search for unusual features. While many marks result from circulation after the coin left the mint, others may indicate genuine production errors that occurred during striking. One of the most desirable possibilities is a doubled die variety. On a true doubled die coin, parts of the design appear doubled because of a difference created during die manufacturing rather than damage after the coin entered circulation. Collectors usually examine letters, numbers, and other design elements for signs of clear separation. Not every form of doubling is valuable, however. Mechanical doubling caused during the striking process generally carries little premium compared with a genuine doubled die. Another feature worth watching for is an off-center strike. During production, if the blank planche is not perfectly positioned between the dies, part of the design may be missing while another portion appears shifted toward the edge. Dramatic off-center errors that still display the full date and mint mark often receive considerable attention from collectors because every example is visually distinctive. The greater the percentage of the off-center strike, the more unusual the coin becomes, provided the important identifying details remain visible. Collectors also look for die cracks, die chips, retained cuds, and other die-related errors. These occur after the dies begin wearing from repeated use. Small cracks may appear as raised lines on the finished coin, while larger die breaks can create unusual raised areas. Although minor die cracks are relatively common, more dramatic examples sometimes generate additional collector interest. A broad strike error is another possibility. This happens when the retaining collar fails to hold the coin properly during striking, allowing the metal to spread outward. Broad-struck coins often appear wider than normal and lack a complete raised rim. Because these errors are produced at the mint, authenticated examples are collected by specialists who focus on unusual manufacturing mistakes. Die clashes provide another fascinating area of study. When the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planche between them, portions of each design may transfer onto the opposite die. Later coins struck from those dies can display faint outlines of design elements where they normally should not appear. These clash marks are usually subtle, but can become very interesting to experienced collectors who enjoy identifying different die states. Another characteristic that sometimes attracts attention is an unusually strong strike. Although strike quality is not considered an error, exceptionally sharp details can make a coin stand out from ordinary examples. Clear hair strands on Lincoln's portrait, crisp lettering, and well-defined architectural features on the Capitol dome often improve eye appeal. Collectors appreciate coins that display above-average detail because they better showcase the artistry of the design. Professional grading also plays an important role in today's coin market. Organizations such as major third-party grading services carefully examine coins for authenticity, condition, and preservation before sealing them inside protective holders. Certified coins often inspire greater confidence among buyers because an independent expert has evaluated them. A high-grade certified example of a 2009 Lincoln Presidency cent with excellent luster and few imperfections may command a significantly higher price than a similar raw coin, especially if it ranks among the finest known examples. For a typical 2009 Lincoln Presidency cent with a D mint mark in fine circulated condition and no significant mint error, collector value is generally modest, often between about $20,000 depending on demand and eye appeal. Authenticated mint error examples or exceptionally high-grade certified coins, however, can sell for substantially more, with values varying widely according to the rarity and severity of the error, certification, and auction competition. Next, have you ever picked up a rusty old penny and assumed it belonged in the trash? That reaction is completely understandable because most heavily worn steel cents appear damaged beyond saving. However, experienced collectors know that a rusty-looking 1943 Lincoln Wheat steel cent with an S mint mark deserves a very careful inspection before anyone decides it has little value. While millions were produced during World War II, certain examples with unusual striking characteristics, mint-made errors, exceptional preservation, or authenticated varieties have become highly collectible and can bring surprisingly strong prices in today's auction market. The story of the 1943 steel cent begins during one of the most challenging periods in American history. World War II created an enormous demand for copper because the metal was needed to manufacture ammunition, electrical equipment, communication systems, and countless military supplies. To conserve copper for the war effort, the United States Mint made a dramatic change. Instead of producing Lincoln cents from their traditional bronze alloy, the Mint struck them on zinc-coated steel planches throughout 1943. This decision created one of the most recognizable and unusual coins ever issued by the United States. When these new steel cents entered circulation, they looked completely different from the familiar brown copper pennies Americans had carried for decades. Their bright silver-gray appearance caused many people to mistake them for dimes at first glance. Although the new material solved the wartime copper shortage, it introduced several unexpected problems. The thin zinc coating could wear away during circulation, exposing the steel underneath. Once exposed, moisture and air often caused rust to develop, especially if the coin had been stored in damp conditions. Today, rusty steel cents are common, but not every rusty coin is worthless. Collectors understand that originality, rarity, and authenticity matter much more than appearance alone. Some naturally aged examples still retain important details, while others display fascinating mint-made characteristics that make them desirable despite surface discoloration. The San Francisco Mint identified its coins with the small S mint mark below the date. Collectors examine this tiny letter closely because genuine mint marks are an important part of identifying each coin correctly. Altered coins occasionally appear in the marketplace, so authentication is always recommended before assigning significant value to any unusual example. Collectors often describe the 1943 steel cent as one of the easiest Lincoln cents to recognize because its color immediately sets it apart. However, identifying truly valuable examples requires much more than recognizing the steel composition. Specialists inspect every surface under magnification, searching for strike quality, die varieties, planche defects, mint-made errors, and evidence of originality. One phrase that frequently attracts attention is large date. While many collectors use this description casually, specialists rely on careful measurements and recognized varieties when evaluating differences in numeral appearance. Whenever an unusual date style is suspected, comparison with authenticated reference examples becomes essential. Misidentification can easily occur without proper examination. Another important factor involves the reported damage S mint mark. Collectors must distinguish between genuine mint errors and damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. A mint mark may appear distorted because of a filled die, die deterioration, striking issues, or damage sustained years later. Only careful analysis can determine whether the unusual appearance originated during the minting process or resulted from later wear. Rust itself tells another interesting story. Because these coins are made of steel beneath a zinc coating, damaged surfaces frequently develop reddish-brown corrosion. Coins stored in humid basements, garages, or outdoor environments often show heavy oxidation. While extensive rust usually reduces value, light natural oxidation does not automatically eliminate collector interest, particularly if the coin displays a genuine mint error or an important authenticated variety. Many beginning collectors are surprised to learn that cleaning rusty steel cents is generally discouraged. Abrasive cleaning removes remaining zinc, scratches the metal, and permanently alters the original surface. Chemical treatments may also create unnatural colors that experienced collectors immediately recognize. Preserving the coin exactly as found is usually the safest approach. The San Francisco Mint struck millions of 1943 steel cents during the wartime production year. Although the original mintage was substantial, relatively few examples survived in pristine condition because steel proved less durable than bronze in circulation. Coins quickly developed scratches, discoloration, worn zinc coatings, and rust spots, making high-grade survivors much scarcer than the original production numbers might suggest. Professional grading services carefully evaluate steel cents for remaining zinc brilliance, strike sharpness, luster, corrosion, and overall eye appeal. A coin with bright original surfaces and minimal spotting commands much stronger prices than one heavily affected by rust. Nevertheless, authenticated mint errors remain desirable even when circulation has left visible evidence of age. Collectors also search for fascinating mint-made errors on 1943 steel cents, including off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, broad strikes, lamination defects, and dramatic doubled dies. Genuine examples certified by respected grading companies often attract competitive bidding because each represents an unusual moment during the manufacturing process. A coin combining a legitimate error with an S mint mark can become especially desirable among specialists building advanced Lincoln cent collections. The excitement surrounding the 1943 steel Lincoln cent has never really faded because it represents a unique moment in American history when the United States Mint change the composition of the 1-cent coin to support the war effort. Every authentic steel cent serves as a reminder of the sacrifices made during World War II, and that historical connection adds another layer of appeal for collectors around the world. Even people who are not serious numismatists often recognize the silver-colored penny as something unusual, making it one of the most popular coins to search for in old collections. When collectors evaluate a 1943 steel cent, they begin by confirming that the coin is actually made of steel. A simple magnet test can help because genuine steel cents are magnetic, unlike normal copper Lincoln cents. While this test is useful, it should never be the only method used to determine authenticity. Professional authentication remains the safest choice whenever a coin appears to have unusual characteristics or exceptional value. One of the most famous stories associated with the 1943 Lincoln cent involves the extremely rare bronze examples that were accidentally struck on leftover bronze planchets. Those coins have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and in some cases, even more. However, it is important to understand that a standard 1943 steel cent is a completely different coin. The overwhelming majority of 1943 pennies are steel, and only a tiny number of bronze pieces are known. Collectors should avoid assuming every 1943 penny is a rare treasure without proper examination. Despite that, steel cents still have an enthusiastic following. Registry set collectors compete to assemble the highest quality examples from each mint, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. This competition keeps demand strong for coins with outstanding eye appeal, full original zinc coating, crisp strike details, and minimal corrosion. The quality of the strike is another important factor. On a sharply struck example, Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat lines appear crisp and well-defined. The lettering should be bold, and the wheat ears on the reverse should display clear grain lines. Weakly struck coins often show softer details, especially around the highest points of the design. Collectors generally pay stronger prices for coins with superior strikes because they better represent the craftsmanship of the mint. The rims also deserve careful attention. Complete, well-formed rims suggest the coin was struck properly and has avoided excessive wear. Deep nicks, bending, or severe rim damage can reduce desirability, while clean, original rims contribute to a stronger overall appearance. Surface preservation is especially important for steel cents. Because the zinc coating is thin, even minor circulation can expose the steel underneath. Once exposed, oxidation begins to develop. A coin that still retains much of its original zinc brilliance after more than 80 years is considered far more desirable than one covered with extensive rust and corrosion. Collectors often use magnification to inspect the mint mark. A damaged-looking S may simply reflect circulation wear, but in some cases, unusual die conditions can create distinctive appearances that specialists enjoy studying. Any suspected mint error should be authenticated before a premium value is assigned. Another reason collectors continue searching for 1943 steel cents is affordability. Unlike some famous key-date coins that cost thousands of dollars, even in lower grades, circulated steel cents remain accessible to many beginners. This allows new collectors to own a genuine wartime coin while learning about grading, preservation, and mint errors. As their knowledge grows, many eventually pursue higher-grade certified examples. Auction houses continue to report strong interest whenever exceptional 1943 steel cents appear. Average circulated examples with noticeable rust generally trade for modest premiums above face value, while attractive certified uncirculated coins often sell for much higher prices. Examples with outstanding preservation, exceptional eye appeal, or authenticated mint errors can inspire competitive bidding among advanced collectors. In today's auction market, a circulated 1943 Lincoln Wheat steel cent, showing natural rust but remaining authentic, may typically sell for $600,000 depending on overall condition. Cleaner circulated pieces usually bring higher prices, while certified mint state examples frequently sell for $600,000 or more. Exceptional gem quality coins with outstanding surfaces can exceed $500,000 at major auctions, and authenticated mint error examples may bring even stronger prices depending on the rarity and significance of the error. Every coin is unique, so condition and authentication always play the biggest role in determining its final value. The popularity of the 1943 steel cent also comes from its ability to spark curiosity. Someone unfamiliar with coin collecting immediately notices that it does not look like an ordinary penny. That first question, "Why is this penny silver?" often becomes the beginning of a lifelong interest in numismatics. Many experienced collectors remember finding their first steel cent in a family collection or inherited coin jar, and that discovery inspired them to learn more about American coin history. If you own a 1943 Lincoln Wheat steel cent, especially one with unusual features, avoid cleaning it or attempting to improve its appearance. Store it in a protective holder, keep it away from moisture, and consider professional grading if you believe it may have significant collector value. Careful preservation today can help protect both its historical importance and its market value for years to come. Next up, the 1974 Canadian 1 cent is one of those coins that many people overlook because it was produced in large numbers and spent decades circulating through everyday commerce. Millions of Canadians carried these pennies in their pockets without ever imagining that one day collectors would search through old jars, coin albums, and inherited collections looking for attractive examples. Even though the majority of 1974 1-cent coins remain inexpensive, certain pieces with outstanding preservation, unusual striking characteristics, authenticated mint errors, or exceptional eye appeal have become far more desirable than ordinary circulation finds. If you have a 1974 Canadian penny, don't rush to spend it or dismiss it simply because it looks old. A careful inspection could reveal features that collectors appreciate, making it worth considerably more than its face value. The Royal Canadian Mint has earned an international reputation for producing beautifully designed coins with remarkable quality. During the early 1970s, Canada continued striking the familiar 1-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and 2 maple leaves surrounding a single twig on the reverse. The maple leaf has long represented Canada's natural beauty and national identity, making this reverse design one of the country's most recognizable coin images. Although newer generations may rarely see Canadian pennies in circulation today, because the denomination was discontinued in 2012, older 1-cent coins continue to attract collectors throughout North America. Looking closely at the obverse, you will see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II created by Arnold Machine. Around the portrait appears the Latin inscription identifying the Queen, while the date 1974 is displayed beneath the bust. This elegant portrait remained a familiar feature of Canadian circulation coins for many years and reflects the artistic style of the period. On the reverse, the words 1 cent appear above the maple leaf design, while Canada is displayed below. The balanced arrangement gives the coin a clean and classic appearance that collectors still admire. The 1974 Canadian cent was struck in bronze, giving it the rich reddish-brown color associated with traditional copper-based coinage. Freshly struck examples displayed brilliant red surfaces, but years of circulation often transformed those bright surfaces into shades of brown or dark chocolate. Coins that remain fully red decades after leaving the mint are much scarcer than circulated brown examples because copper naturally changes color over time through exposure to air, moisture, and handling. One important detail collectors consider is the condition of the coin. In your example, the coin is described as circulated with some dirt visible on the surfaces. That means it has spent years passing from one person to another before eventually being saved. Dirt, fingerprints, oxidation, and light scratches are common on circulated copper coins. Although such characteristics generally reduce collector value compared with pristine mint-state examples, they also reflect the long journey the coin has taken through everyday Canadian commerce. Another feature worth discussing is the large date. On Canadian 1-cent coins, specialists often pay close attention to small design variations, including date styles, lettering, and die characteristics. Correctly identifying the date style is important because different varieties sometimes attract different levels of collector demand. Using a magnifying glass helps collectors compare the shape and spacing of the numerals with published reference guides. The Royal Canadian Mint produced hundreds of millions of 1-cent coins during 1974, meaning ordinary examples remain relatively common today. High mintage, however, does not automatically eliminate collector interest. Many coins with enormous mintages become surprisingly difficult to locate in outstanding condition, because they circulated heavily for decades. As a result, certified mint state examples with original red surfaces often command much stronger prices than worn circulation pieces. Collectors searching through rolls of old Canadian cents often begin by checking the overall appearance. They look for sharp lettering, complete maple leaf veins, attractive color, and minimal contact marks. Even if the coin has circulated, an example with pleasing eye appeal may attract more interest than one showing heavy corrosion or environmental damage. Original surfaces are especially important because harsh cleaning can permanently reduce a coin's desirability. One mistake many beginners make is attempting to polish an old copper coin to make it appear brighter. Experienced collectors generally avoid cleaned coins because polishing removes original surfaces and leaves unnatural hairlines. A naturally toned 1974 cent with honest circulation wear is usually more desirable than a heavily polished example that has lost its original character. When examining the coin carefully, pay close attention to the lettering around the rim. Look for any unusual doubling, missing design elements, or striking abnormalities. True mint errors occur during the manufacturing process and differ from damage caused after the coin entered circulation. Understanding that distinction helps collectors avoid mistaking ordinary wear for valuable production mistakes. Among the most interesting possibilities are off-center strikes. If the blank planche shifted before being struck, part of the design may be missing while another portion appears closer to the edge. Collectors enjoy these dramatic errors because every example is unique. An authenticated off-center error. Retaining the full date can command a healthy premium over a normal circulated coin. Another possibility is a clipped planche error. Before striking, blank discs are punched from large metal sheets. Occasionally, one blank overlaps the edge of the sheet or another blank, leaving a curved section missing. Coins struck on clipped planches display a distinctive crescent-shaped missing area that specialists immediately recognize. Genuine clipped planche errors are collected because they clearly demonstrate an unusual stage of the minting process. Die cracks are another production feature worth examining. After striking thousands of coins, the dies gradually wear and may develop small fractures. Coins struck afterward display raised lines where the cracks existed on the die. Minor die cracks are fairly common, but larger and more dramatic examples sometimes receive additional attention from collectors interested in die states and mint production history. Die chips may also appear as raised metal blobs in certain areas of the design. These occur when tiny pieces of the die break away during use. Depending on their location and size, die chips can become popular among variety collectors who enjoy identifying unusual production characteristics. Occasionally, grease-filled dies produce weakly struck letters or numbers. When grease blocks portions of the die, metal cannot fully fill those recessed areas during striking. The result is missing or faint design elements. Authentication remains important because circulation wear can produce similar appearances that are unrelated to mint errors. Collectors also inspect the rim carefully. Broad strike errors occur when the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the coin to expand beyond its normal diameter. These unusual pieces lack the typical raised rim and often appear noticeably wider than standard coins. Properly authenticated broad strikes are sought by collectors specializing in mint errors. Lamination errors represent another fascinating possibility. During the preparation of bronze strip, impurities or internal defects occasionally caused thin layers of metal to separate either before or after striking. A genuine lamination error differs from ordinary peeling or environmental damage because it originated during production. Specialists often examine such coins under magnification before determining authenticity. The market for Canadian cents has grown steadily as more collectors recognize the historical importance of coins no longer produced for circulation. Since the Canadian penny was discontinued in 2012, many people have become interested in completing collections covering every date and variety. This increased interest has encouraged collectors to search through old accumulations for attractive earlier coins, including examples from the 1970s. A circulated 1974 Canadian large-date 1-cent coin with some dirt and ordinary wear usually carries a modest premium over face value. Depending on its overall condition, originality, and market demand, Realistic collector values commonly range from about $69,000 for attractive, circulated pieces. Coins with authenticated mint errors, exceptional preservation, or certified high grades may sell for considerably more at auction because they appeal to specialized collectors willing to compete for scarce examples. If you believe your coin displays an unusual error, avoid cleaning or altering it before seeking expert advice. Store it in a protective holder and compare it with reliable references illustrating known Canadian varieties. If the features appear promising, professional authentication can help determine whether the coin possesses genuine collector significance. The most successful collectors understand that knowledge is more valuable than luck. Instead of assuming every old coin is rare, they learn how coins were produced, study genuine mint errors, compare different varieties, and examine thousands of examples. Over time, this experience allows them to recognize unusual pieces that others might overlook. Your 1974 Canadian 1-cent coin may not transform into a fortune overnight, but it represents an important piece of Canadian monetary history. Whether it becomes a treasured keepsake, the beginning of a collection, or an authenticated variety that attracts competitive bidding, taking the time to study it carefully is always worthwhile. Every coin has a story, and sometimes the smallest details become the most interesting discoveries for collectors. Next up, the 1979 Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin without a mint mark that has a scratched and damaged date. While damage usually lowers a coin's value, this type of coin still teaches collectors valuable lessons about how to recognize pieces that deserve a second inspection before spending them. The Lincoln cent has been a favorite of American collectors for generations. Introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first regular United States circulating coin to feature a real historical person. Before Lincoln appeared on the cent, American coins typically displayed symbolic images such as Lady Liberty. The new design was created by sculptor Victor David Brenner, and it quickly became one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Even decades later, collectors continue searching through jars, rolls, and old collections, hoping to discover an overlooked treasure. By 1979, Lincoln cents had already been circulating for 70 years. They were produced by several United States mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco for proof coins. If a 1979 cent has no mint mark beneath the date, it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That is completely normal for business strike cents from that year. Many new collectors mistakenly believe that every coin without a mint mark is rare, but that is not true. Understanding this fact is one of the first lessons every collector should learn. The Philadelphia Mint produced billions of Lincoln cents in 1979 to meet the demand for everyday commerce across the United States. Because so many were made, most examples remain common today. Many still appear in pocket change, bankrolls, and family coin jars. Finding one without a mint mark is easy. The challenge is finding an example that stands out because of exceptional preservation or a genuine mint error instead of ordinary wear or post-mint damage. When examining a 1979 Lincoln cent, collectors begin with the obverse. Abraham Lincoln faces to the right with the word Liberty positioned behind his portrait. The date appears in front of Lincoln, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," stretches across the top. Every letter, number, and design element should appear sharp on an uncirculated example. On a circulated coin, however, years of use gradually wear away these details. The reverse features the familiar Lincoln Memorial design introduced in 1959. Above the memorial appears United States of America, while 1 cent is displayed prominently across the center. Along the top is the motto E pluribus unum. If you look carefully between the columns of the memorial on a well-preserved coin, you can even see a tiny representation of the Lincoln statue inside the building. That tiny detail has fascinated collectors for decades because it demonstrates the remarkable craftsmanship involved in designing such a small coin. Now let's talk about the scratches and damaged date. Many people assume that unusual scratches automatically increase a coin's value. In reality, the opposite is usually true. Damage that occurs after a coin leaves the mint is called post-mint damage. Scratches from circulation, cleaning, dropping the coin on rough surfaces, or accidental contact with tools generally reduce collector interest. Professional grading companies carefully distinguish genuine mint errors from damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. Even though scratches normally reduce value, experienced collectors never dismiss a coin without inspecting it carefully. Sometimes dirt, corrosion, or scratches hide important details. Under proper lighting and magnification, what first appears to be damage may actually reveal a doubled die, an off-center strike, a die crack, a retained cud, or another collectible mint error. Careful examination is always worthwhile because genuine mint errors can command much stronger prices than ordinary circulated examples. Collectors also pay close attention to the coin's color. Copper cents are often classified as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how much of the original mint luster remains. A bright red example stored carefully since 1979 will usually attract more attention than one that has become dark from decades of circulation. However, natural color changes are different from environmental damage. Corrosion, chemical exposure, and harsh cleaning usually decrease desirability. Another important factor is strike quality. Even among common-date Lincoln cents, some examples were struck with stronger detail than others. A sharply struck coin displays crisp lettering, bold hair detail on Lincoln's portrait, and clear architectural features on the Lincoln Memorial. Collectors appreciate these characteristics because they show the dies were in good condition when the coin was produced. When discussing value, realistic expectations are essential. A circulated 1979 Philadelphia Lincoln cent without a mint mark is generally worth face value unless it has something special. Attractive, uncirculated examples may sell for $9,000, while certified high-grade examples can bring significantly more depending on their grade and current collector demand. If a genuine and desirable mint error is authenticated by a respected grading service, auction prices may range from around $10,000, and exceptional certified errors can sell for even higher amounts depending on rarity and eye appeal. This is why knowledge is far more valuable than guesswork. Instead of assuming every damaged coin is rare, successful collectors learn how coins are made, how mint errors occur, and how to recognize the difference between factory-made characteristics and damage caused after the coin entered circulation. That knowledge saves money, prevents disappointment, and occasionally leads to an exciting discovery hidden among ordinary pocket change. Before placing any 1979 Lincoln cent back into circulation, spend a few minutes examining it under good light with a magnifying glass. Look for unusual doubling in the lettering, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, or other authentic mint-made features. Compare your coin with reliable reference photographs and, if you believe you have discovered something unusual, consider having it evaluated by a reputable coin dealer or a professional grading service. Even if your coin turns out to be common, the experience of learning how to identify collectible characteristics is valuable in itself, and it prepares you for the day when a truly scarce coin finally appears in your hands. Next up, the 1919 Lincoln Wheat cent without a mint mark is one of those coins that deserves a closer look. At first glance, it may appear ordinary, especially if it has spent decades in circulation and now carries a dark, dirty appearance. Many people would pass it by without a second thought. Experienced collectors know that appearance alone does not determine value. Age, originality, rarity, and high grades, unusual striking characteristics, and overall collector demand all play important roles when the market decides what a particular coin is worth. The year 1919 came just after the end of the First World War. The United States was entering a new era of economic growth, and millions of Lincoln cents were already moving through stores, banks, factories, farms, and neighborhoods across the country. These coins were used to buy newspapers, bread, candy, train tickets, and countless everyday necessities. Because they changed hands so often, most examples became heavily worn within only a few years. That heavy circulation explains why attractive survivors are much harder to find today than many people realize. A 1919 Lincoln cent without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that period, Philadelphia generally did not place a mint mark on Lincoln cents, making the absence of a mint mark completely normal for the issue. Even so, collectors still pay close attention to every detail because subtle differences in strike quality, surface preservation, and eye appeal can create enormous differences in value. Two coins from the same year can look nearly identical to an untrained eye, yet one might sell for only a few dollars while another reaches hundreds or even thousands at auction. The famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front was created by Victor David Brenner and had already become one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage. Lincoln faces to the right with the words, "In God We Trust," above his portrait. The word "Liberty" appears to the left, while the date 1919 is placed on the right. Collectors carefully examine every letter and every number because weak strikes, die wear, and unusual die characteristics sometimes create interesting varieties that receive additional attention from specialists. Turning the coin over reveals the classic wheat ears design that gave this entire series its popular nickname. Two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, while the national motto E pluribus unum appears across the top. This reverse remained in production until 1958, making it one of the longest-running and most beloved coin designs in American history. One reason collectors enjoy searching for 1919 cents is that every coin tells a different story. Some spent decades in pockets and cash registers before disappearing into old jars. Others were stored away by families who saved them simply because they were old. A few escaped heavy circulation almost entirely, preserving much of their original detail. Those better-preserved examples naturally command much stronger prices whenever they appear on today's collector market. A dark-colored, dirty coin often raises questions among beginners. Many assume that a black or brown surface automatically means the coin is damaged beyond collecting. In reality, natural oxidation and decades of circulation frequently produce rich chocolate-brown colors that experienced collectors actually appreciate. Original surfaces are usually more desirable than cleaned or polished ones. A coin that has never been improperly cleaned may look darker, yet it can still attract serious bidding because originality is highly valued in numismatics. Collectors are extremely cautious about cleaning old copper coins. Even gentle polishing can leave tiny scratches that permanently reduce collector value. The natural patina developed over many decades serves as evidence that the coin has aged honestly. Professional grading services often reward coins with untouched surfaces, even when they appear darker than freshly cleaned examples. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents during 1919, but survival in premium condition is another matter entirely. Most examples experienced years of commercial use before finally leaving circulation. Every purchase, every trip through a cash drawer, and every contact with other coins gradually wore away fine details. That steady wear explains why sharply detailed examples remain desirable more than a century later. Serious collectors inspect Lincoln's beard, jawline, hair above the ear, and coat for signs of wear. On the reverse, they study the wheat kernels, wheat lines, lettering, and rim. Strong detail across these areas usually indicates a better preserved specimen. Even small improvements in condition can lead to substantial increases in auction prices. Another important factor is strike quality. Not every coin leaves the dies with identical sharpness. Some are boldly struck with crisp lettering and full detail, while others display softer features because of worn dies or reduced striking pressure. Collectors often pay premiums for coins showing exceptionally sharp strikes combined with attractive original surfaces. Although the standard 1919 Philadelphia cent is not considered a major error coin, specialists continue searching for interesting die cracks, die chips, off-center strikes, lamination flaws, and repunched details. Genuine mint-made errors are always examined carefully because they represent unusual moments during the manufacturing process. Authentication by respected grading services becomes especially important whenever an error is believed to be significant. Market demand for Lincoln Wheat cents has remained remarkably strong for decades. New collectors frequently begin with this classic series because the coins are historically important, widely recognized, and available across many price levels. At the same time, advanced collectors compete for exceptional examples with outstanding preservation, creating steady demand for the finest surviving pieces. As interest in Lincoln Wheat cents continues to grow, The 1918 Philadelphia issue remains an important date for collectors building complete sets.
While it is not considered one of the rarest dates in the series, finding an example with beautiful original surfaces, strong detail, and no signs of harsh cleaning becomes increasingly difficult every year. That challenge keeps collectors searching and helps maintain steady demand whenever an attractive coin appears for sale. Imagine someone opening an old wooden box that has been sitting in an attic for generations. Inside are family photographs, handwritten letters, military medals, and a small cloth pouch filled with old pennies. Most people would simply see loose change, but a knowledgeable collector immediately begins checking the dates. When a 1919 Lincoln Wheat cent appears, the next step is to examine every detail carefully. Is there a mint mark? Is the date sharp? Has the coin been cleaned? Does it have original surfaces? Even before discussing value, these questions help determine whether the coin deserves closer attention. Professional coin grading has become one of the most important parts of today's collecting hobby. Independent grading companies evaluate authenticity, assign a numerical grade, and encapsulate the coin in a protective holder. This process gives buyers greater confidence when purchasing valuable coins. A certified example often attracts stronger bidding than a raw coin because collectors know that its authenticity and condition have already been professionally evaluated. Condition remains the single biggest factor affecting value. A heavily worn 1919 Lincoln cent without a mint mark may still be worth more than face value simply because of its age and collector demand. A better preserved example with clear lettering, strong wheat ears, and attractive natural color can bring considerably more. Coins displaying original mint luster, even after more than 100 years, are especially prized because so few survived in that state. Dark brown coloration is common among original copper coins of this age. Exposure to air, moisture, and changing environmental conditions gradually changes the metal over decades. Collectors often describe these colors as chocolate brown, mahogany, or deep walnut. Such natural toning can actually enhance eye appeal when it develops evenly across the coin. Uneven corrosion, however, is a different matter and generally lowers collector interest. Many beginners mistakenly believe that shining a coin will increase its value. The opposite is usually true. A polished coin may appear brighter, but experienced collectors can immediately recognize unnatural surfaces. Tiny hairline scratches left by cloths, brushes, or chemical cleaners permanently reduce desirability. That is why experts always recommend leaving old coins exactly as they are found. Counterfeit coins have also become a concern within the hobby. Some altered pieces have dates changed to imitate more valuable varieties, while others are completely fabricated. Because of this, serious collectors rely on magnification, weight measurements, metal composition, and professional authentication before paying premium prices. A genuine certified example always provides greater peace of mind. The Lincoln Cent series has attracted generations of collectors because it combines American history with the excitement of treasure hunting. Children often begin by searching pocket change, while